Welcome back to your third week of a Steps to a Healthier You workshop. This week, you and me are going to be taking a deep dive into the topic of self-monitoring. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jas. Now, as always, before we start, we have some short questions we would love for you to answer. Question number 1, have you ever filled out a food or exercise diary before? Question number 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in estimating the nutritional value of your food and meals that you eat on a regular basis? And question number 3, do you currently know how much energy your body requires to function effectively while still achieving your weight loss goal? The aims and the objectives of today's session include 1. How to understand how to accurately fill out a food diary and how to use the information to our own advantage. 2. Learn to estimate the nutritional content of food items and personal energy requirements. 3. To increase awareness of portion sizes. And 4. To learn new ways to self-monitor to increase goal attainment. Now, to start off, in regards to learning ways to self-monitor, we're going to take a look at food diaries. Now, some people find food diaries extremely useful and beneficial, but they might not be for everyone, as they can take some time and effort into filling them out and planning meals, etc. However, if you don't have the capacity to complete a food diary every day for months on end, just simply doing it for a few days or up to a week can really help you to understand your eating patterns and help you identify new areas for change. It can also identify any triggers, any improvements, any patterns, and increase awareness of the nutritional content of certain foods and drinks that you have on a regular basis. All you would need to do to effectively complete a food diary is to record at least 3 days, including a weekend day, which involves all your meals, snacks and drinks. You would add in the measurements of each ingredient and food, the cooking methods, and that would include things like oils and butter and sauces. You would then record your hunger level before the meal and after the meal, if possible. Think about, did the meal satisfy you? As well as that, include the fluids that you consumed and record each meal as soon as possible to avoid misreporting later on. So here would be a great example of a food diary. You can see in the columns that there are the times that the meals were eaten, there are all of the measurements of the foods that were eaten, including all of the ingredients. The cooking method was mentioned as well, and it has also included a weekend day and 2 weekdays. Now, of course, you don't have to make your own food diary by writing it down. There are plenty of apps now that can support you in making this process easier. One example, and one I personally use myself, is MyFitnessPal. This allows you to scan product barcodes or input the food eaten in order to track energy and nutrients consumed. You can also track exercise and create recipes for future use. It also stores the foods that you regularly consume, so planning meals gets easier and easier every time you use the app. In addition to planning your food intake, there are also plenty of apps to help with other forms of self-monitoring and staying on track. For example, Easy Meals is an app that gives you access to recipes and allows you to create a shopping list by aisle. Food Scanner app allows you to find healthier swaps for food items. The Weight Loss Plan app is a 12-week plan to help you lose weight. Active 10 allows you to track your exercise and activities. And Couch to 5K is, of course, the very popular running app that guides absolute beginners to running a 5K. It has no set time frame and builds you up extremely gradually, so it is a really user-friendly and sustainable plan. One super important step to being able to self-monitor your food intake is knowing what a portion size actually is, because sometimes what we think is a portion is actually a lot more. meaning that when we are estimating our intakes, we are at risk of underestimating and overeating, or sometimes even vice versa. As every person is different, the recommended number of portions for each food will vary according to your age, your sex, your size, your health, and plenty of other factors. But the following few slides will hopefully give you a good place to get started. So thinking firstly about carbohydrates, a portion of bread equates to one medium slice, which is about 35 grams. A portion of pasta is 75 grams uncooked, or 150 grams cooked, which is about 3 tablespoons when dry. Rice is 50 grams uncooked, or 150 grams cooked, or 3 tablespoons dry, and so forth and so on, as you can see for the rest of the carbohydrates such as porridge oats, muesli, baked potatoes and irregular potatoes. You can see that there's normally a handy measurement that you can use when you don't have scales to use in the kitchen, and that is for carbohydrates. So moving on to protein, a portion is typically the size of our palm. So probably a lot less than you imagined, or probably a lot less than you're typically having now. Looking at some examples on the table, a portion of cooked meat, whether that be beef, pork, lamb, mince, chicken or turkey, is around 90 grams, which is around the size of a deck of cards. Other examples include eggs, which would be 120 grams or 2 medium-sized, or potentially baked beans, which would be 150 grams or 4 tablespoons. And then any tofu or plant-based meats would be around 100 grams, which would be around 4 tablespoons. Moving on to fruit and vegetables, the serving size tends to be around the size of a clenched fist. So an apple, pear, orange or banana would be around 80 grams, which would be 1 medium piece. Grapes would be 80 grams, which is around 10 to 12 grapes. Berries would be around 80 grams, which is between 15 and 20 berries. Plums, apricots, kiwis and satsumas are again 80 grams, which is around 2 items of those fruit. Peas, carrots and mixed veg are around 80 grams, which is 3 heaped tablespoons. Cucumber is around 80 grams, which is 1.5 centimetres. And cherry tomatoes are again 80 grams, which is around 7 cherry tomatoes. Now, moving on to oils and spreads. So, using the tip of our thumb would be a great rough estimate. So for butter or spread, around 5 grams is a recommended portion size, which is similar to around 1 teaspoon. For oil, it's between 5 to 15 millilitres, and that's around 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon. So now that we understand our portion sizes, how do we know how much to eat to meet our own personal requirements? We have all heard of metabolism before, but does anyone know what this actually is? So, metabolism refers to the bodily processes needed to maintain life, or in other words, our resting metabolic rate, which is the total number of calories burned when your body is completely at rest, or your total daily energy expenditure, also known as TDEE, which is the total calories we need to support both basic functioning as well as our exercise and our activities. In order to calculate our personal energy requirements to support our weight, we need to find out both of these things. The way in which most doctors, nutritionists and dietitians and health professionals do this is by following the equation on the screen. So, the first equation works out your resting metabolic rate by combining your age, your weight, your gender and your height. Then once we have this number, we can incorporate your activity levels to find out an estimate of what your body needs to support your current lifestyle. Once we have this number, then we can deduct a specific number of calories from your total, which is usually around 500 to 600 calories to achieve a moderate weight loss. This is the number of calories that is then recommended for you to consume whilst on your weight loss journey. So we are going to work ours out together step by step to get you started. If you have your workbook with you, feel free to turn to page 12 and either grab a calculator or use the calculator on your phone. You want to begin by entering a bracket into your calculator, then the number 10. Times this by your weight in kilograms, then close the brackets. Press the plus button and open the brackets again. Enter the number 6.25 and times by your height in centimetres, then close the brackets. Now press the subtract button, open the brackets again and select the number 5. Times this by your age in years and close the brackets. Now depending on your gender, either add 5 for males or subtract 161 for females, and the number that you get is your resting metabolic rate. Now, we need to select an appropriate figure to account for your activity levels. So, looking at the screen, select what category you best fit into and times your number by the figure in the category. So for example, if my resting metabolic rate was 1,500 calories and I was heavily active, then I would do 1,500 calories times 1.82. This number is how your total daily energy expenditure. The final thing we need to do is deduct 600 calories, and this final number should be the estimate of what we need to support our lifestyle whilst we're still working towards a healthy weight loss. Now let's talk about the benefits of eating regular meals. Benefit number 1, it can prevent hunger pains. So often people think that skipping a meal here or there will help to cut down on overall calorie consumption. However, the hunger pains you'll experience when you skip meals can ultimately lead to overindulgence at your next meal or snacking more during the day. Benefit number 2 is that regular meals will boost your metabolism. So your metabolism is the rate at which your body burns the calories you give it. Our bodies are programmed to sense a lack of food as starvation. When we skip meals, our calorie burn rate slows down, which means fewer calories are burnt over time. When you don't eat regular meals, your burn rate will often slow down, making it a lot harder to lose weight. Benefit number 3 is that regular eating can keep you energized. A good way to think about food is to remember it's your body's fuel. Like a car running on fumes, if your body is running on empty, it cannot operate well. Not only can this affect your mood and daily performance, it can keep you from the tasks you actually really need to do. Benefit number 4, it encourages self-control to regularly eat. The hungrier we are, the harder it is to make good decisions. Think about going to the supermarket when you're ravenous. How likely are you to grab a piece of fruit or a salad? Number 5. Scientific studies have actually shown that regular eating can help align your circadian rhythm, which ultimately supports you having a better night's sleep. And sleep itself can support weight management, which we will discuss in a separate workshop in a few weeks. Overall, as a result of all of these benefits of regular eating, our risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease will all decrease. Between now and your next session or webinar, we would love for you to complete the worksheet on page 13 and 14 if you haven't done so already. As you will see, it's a food diary. We want you to take what you've learned over the last 3 weeks, especially in today's session, and attempt completing one of these, in order to work out an average daily energy intake. Now you can either do this on paper in the workbook, or if you can prefer, you can download one of the apps that we mentioned earlier and complete it on there. Hopefully this exercise can give you a bit of an insight into your daily habits that you might currently be overlooking. From there, this is where real change and positive habits can be formed. Now, this brings us to the end of today's session, but just to finish off, we have 2 questions to ask you. Number 1, has your knowledge of portion sizes improved from before the session? And number 2, do you think that your estimation of food and portion sizes in the past were possibly incorrect? Thank you so much for attending workshop number 3, and I look forward to seeing you in webinar number 4.